Hi everybody, it is Andrea Villeneuve here. I am a food and nutrition educator. So what I've been doing for the past few years is going around to schools and teaching kids about food literacy, food skills in general, nutrition, and really how to create delicious meals with local foods. So I'm really excited today because we are going to be making a Philly cheesesteak. Let's dive right in. I will show you guys a little bit about what we're doing. So for our Philly cheesesteak, we will be using this is our delicious beef that we have right here, and this is our fast fry steaks. So when you're looking at the grocery store, you're looking for these really thin cuts of steak, and it can be a variety of different cuts. It can be a center cut. What I have here is strip loin, which is already very tender, but really what you're looking for at the grocery store is you can see it's very thin cut steaks. Fast fry steaks, they just take a couple of minutes in a pan to whip up, so they're perfect for those weeknight dinners. Okay, so to start off, I'll just point you guys down because we're going to be seasoning these to start off with. So whenever you are cooking with meat, what you do want to do is you want to cook whenever you're cooking meat, you do want to make sure that you season the meat first. So what I have here is I have a quarter teaspoon of garlic powder. Going to be adding the salt and pepper. And this is going to be basically what we are going to be seasoning our meal with. So what I want you to do is, once that's all mixed up, everything, the salt, the garlic powder, the pepper are all mixed together, you want to sprinkle that over the meat. There we go. And we are going to make sure that both sides of the beef are seasoned, okay? So I will just use my hands to kind of switch that over. So there we go. You can see there the thin cuts of meat. There we go. Just sprinkling it all over. Other meats that can be used as well for these fast fry steaks that you will commonly see at the grocery store include your top sirloin, sirloin tip, or inside round. So really, since I am using a tender cut already, if you do want to tenderize your beef a bit more, you can always use a meat mallet and kind of pound it out a little bit more, and that'll tenderize your meat further. But strip loin, which I mentioned before, is already a pretty tender cut, okay? So I'm gonna get this going right away. Okay, so I'll just point over here, the pan, and I'm gonna put this on medium-high. There we go, and heat up a little bit of canola oil. There we go. Kind of get that going in the pan. And that's just going to heat up a little bit. And then we are going to get the beef cooking, and the beef is going to take about 2 minutes on each side. And then also I did want to note that, so I kept the meat on a plate purposefully, so that it didn't touch the cutting board that we have right here. You can see for cutting board safety also that I have a wet towel underneath. This helps keep it from moving around, so we have a very steady surface for when we are cutting up our delicious veggies to come. But anyways, the meat has not touched this surface. We always want to make sure that we are not cross-contaminating anything for food safety. So basically what I'm going to do is, the meat has stayed on this plate. I'm going to put it in the pan so that it starts cooking. And then I'm going to quickly wash my hands just to make sure that we don't have any cross-contamination from me cutting, from the raw meat to me cutting the fresh vegetables. Yeah. Okay. So this is getting warmer, closer to being ready to go. So I'm going to grab our fast fry steak right here. And I'm going to add it to the pan. The pan is not quite ready yet. You'll know the pan is ready because when you drop something in it, you will hear a sizzle. So we'll just wait a second longer here. There we go. show you guys. Okay, here we go. So it's not sizzling quite yet, but I am going to get it going just for the sake of brevity. I don't want to keep you guys waiting for too long. There we go. So that will heat up, and it's going to be 2 minutes on each side for this. Now I'm just going to go over to the sink over here, and I'm going to wash my hands with warm soap and water. Before you even get cooking, you should always wash your hands with warm soap and water for 20 seconds, and then make sure to dry with something clean. If you prefer, you can wear an apron to keep your clothes clean when you're cooking, and if you have long hair, make sure that it is tied back. These are just your basic food safety things that you might want to consider whenever you're cooking in the kitchen. So just 1 second, I'm going to go wash my hands. While you're washing your hands, another tip that I like to always say is that 20 seconds is about the same time it takes to go through the song Happy Birthday. So you can sing Happy Birthday in your head or out loud if you're brave. And that'll be around 20 seconds for you. Okay, now time for rinse. Okay, so just drying my hands off now, just so you guys can see it kind of cooking along. You can see the beef is sizzling now, it's going. And so that means that I'm going to get the veggies going over here. Okay, so for the Philly cheesesteak, we have our mushrooms right here. So they're cute little button mushrooms. You can see how small they are. So I just wanted to go over a little bit. We're going to use a paring knife, which I have right here. And you just kind of, you always want to do the claw to make sure that your fingers are out of the way. And then you can just use the tip of the knife when you're using a paring knife to kind of slice it. Cute little slices. There we go. Really easy. And these mushrooms have already been cleaned. So what I did to clean them is I actually just rinsed them off. And then you can use a paper towel as well to get off any extra dirt. There we go. So they're nice and thinly sliced. Very delicious. So that is one of the vegetables that will be going into our Philly cheesesteaks. Some other things, we have an onion. You can see this is a white onion, and I already cut it in half so that I have a flat surface to cut with. Once again, for this, I want to really focus on paring knife skills today. So I do want to have kind of strips of onion. So what I did is I just cut it in half so that the strips aren't too long. Once again, always doing the claw. Keep your fingers out of the way and safe. And then you use the tip of the knife to kind of just slice through. There you go. Just make sure you're moving your fingers back as need be. Once again, the beef is cooking really well. You can kind of see it just cooking away. There we go. So I will actually take a moment, break from the onion to just flip that. So you can either use tongs or you can use like a flipper, anything along those lines. You can see it's really nice and brown. It looks really delicious. Lots of flavor happening right there. Okay, So we have our onions, for the most part, cut up. There we go. And we're gonna move on to peppers, which is a huge part of the Philly cheesesteak. You can see I already cut it in half. You need half a green pepper, half a yellow pepper for some color. Bell peppers are great, just like mushrooms. They are full of fiber, which is very important. But also, these peppers right here, an interesting fact is that they have quite a bit of vitamin C. I know a lot of people always think about sort of oranges or citrus when it comes to vitamin C, but yes, bell peppers have quite a bit of vitamin C in them themselves. Okay, and now what we're going to do is just really thinly slice these, okay? So you see it's like, just run the knife through. Our fingers are kept tucked back away from the blade of the knife. Once again, that's always the most important part, keeping our fingers safe. And it's beautiful because you can see just how thin these slices are. See? It's that easy to get that going. There we go. Just keep slicing away. If you see any of this white part and you want it to be removed a little bit, you can always just cut it out with the paring knife. That's why I do like to use a paring knife so much with peppers, is because it's easy to maneuver around all the different curves that the pepper has. And if you start to get to these really long pieces of pepper and you know you're not going to want to eat those all at once in the sandwich, I like to just get a little pile of the peppers together and then cut it in half. Because then they're still in strips, but they're in just more bite-sized strips, which I like a little bit better for my sandwiches. There we go. Cutting those in half. Okay, so this first, I'm using a smaller frying pan today. You'll see that the beef, these beautiful thin steaks look great. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take them out and set them aside on a clean plate, which I have here, using my tongs. Here we go. And I'm just gonna take these out. Beautiful. And put them on a clean plate once again to make sure that we're not cross-contaminating. Okay, and now that those have been removed and set aside, I'm just going to add a tiny bit more oil. It can kind of be pushed around a little bit. And you'll see that there's a lot of brown at the bottom of this pan, and that's perfectly fine. That's what we want. That's a lot of flavor, actually. And then I'm going to take in and add in these extra 2 thin steaks, fast fry steaks. There we go. So, and they're going to be cooked for the additional 2 minutes as well. So we're getting some nice browning and nice flavor going in the pan. We're cooking the veggies in the same pan. So all of those delicious flavors are going to come up and be cooked along with the onion, the mushroom, and the peppers as well. So they'll have that nice beefy flavor. Okay, so just continuing on, cutting these pretty thin. Here we go. So this recipe is so fantastic just because it really lends itself well to having a lot of different vegetables in it, which is great. The more colorful your plate, the better. This is also a really good example of when you're talking about Canada's Food Guide about the plate. So basically they have it set out so that everything's kind of flat on a plate. But this is one of those mixed dishes that we like to talk about, where everything might not be laid out flat on a plate, but you are still getting all of those nutrients that you need. They're just blended all together and playing well together as a unit. There we go. So this is all of the delicious vegetables. With the mushrooms, I think you can see basically just how colorful this really is when it comes together. Okay, now I'm just gonna flip this over. Here we go. You see some nice browning. Perfect. It looks really yummy. There we go. So those will be done in 1 second. The veggies are all cut up and ready to go. So what I just want to do here is I am going to set the veggies aside just for a quick sec. So I want to talk to you a little bit about what I have here. So I've already pre-toasted the bread just to save some time. But I did want to point out to you guys kind of how we flavored this bread. So a great way to actually flavor bread without adding additional fat or additional calories. You can take a clove of garlic and you just cut it in half. Just cut it in half over here. And then you just want to rub it onto the bread. So all that delicious garlic flavor will go into the bread. So I'll show you what I mean. So you just want to take the piece of bread. Keep in mind this is before it's toasted in the recipe, but I just want to give you guys an idea. And you can see that the garlic kind of just, that flavor gets infused into the bread. And it's really easy. That way you don't necessarily have to use butter and garlic. I mean, you can 100% use butter and garlic. That is definitely something that can be done and is delicious. But this is a really tasty and delicious way to do this. And you'll kind of see already what I have done here is that this is whole wheat bread, so it looks a little brown, but that's because it's whole wheat and then it's already been toasted. So it was a full baguette, and I basically just used a bread knife to cut it into 4 different sections, and then I cut it vertically as well. So for now, since these are already toasted, I just want to use the bottom pieces, and I want to set the top pieces aside for now. Setting the top pieces aside because they don't really need to go back into the oven. We're just going to need to use the bottom pieces because that is where we're going to be layering our veggies once they're cooked, as well as our sliced beef. Okay? There we go. So the beef is done cooking. So now that the beef is done cooking, I'm just going to set it aside over here. Here we go. Looks delicious, all browned. Here we go, and then you can see all of the delicious flavor kind of left over in the dish. There we go, just want to make sure that's still hot and ready to go. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to add the last of the oil, which we have right here, because we are going to be adding in all of the veggies. So bringing the veggies back over, we are going to add in the onions and the peppers. There we go. And we will also add in the delicious button mushrooms, which are so cute and tiny, that have been sliced. We're just going to take a little bit of time to mix these all up and cook them. You'll see they'll get a little bit brown because they're going to start picking up those delicious beef flavors. I had a little bit of liquid from the beef that came out and added to kind of make sure that the brown wasn't sticking completely to the bottom of the pan. If you find that the brown in the bottom of the pan has it so that it's not coming off at all, or sometimes the liquid from the mushrooms will help get all of that delicious flavor to come off the bottom of the pan. But if it doesn't, feel free to put a little bit of beef broth or a little bit of water into your pan, and that'll just help release all of that brown delicious flavoring that you're looking for, okay? Here we go. So you can get a good glimpse kind of of what things are looking at. You can hear it start to sizzle away a little bit. And we're not cooking this for very long. So, trying to look back at the recipe. So yes, we're just gonna cook this for about 2 minutes to kind of soften everything up. There we go. I actually want to bring the beef back over, and I'm just gonna cut these into thinner slices so that it's a little bit easier to put these onto the buns. You can see how delicious and juicy this is. Oh, and also just remembering the remainder of the seasoning that we used on the beef itself. You take the other half of that seasoning and you want to put it in the veggies so that the veggies are seasoned as well. There we go. So we just added a lot of flavor over to the veggies as well. Everything's going to be nice and beefy, and it's going to taste so good. If you've never had a Philly cheesesteak, you're in for a treat. It's just such a nice warm sandwich to have, so it's perfect for the winter season. Here we go. And then I'm just going to take my chef's knife, and you can use either a fork or I'll just use these. You just want to kind of cut some strips. That'll be easy to add to the sandwich. So really easy. There we go. You can see just how nice the color was. You know, because you just watched me cook them, just how fast these fast fry steaks were cooked off. So it's really nice that way. I'm just going to make these a little smaller. There we go. Perfect. So I'll just put these back on that same plate where they came from. It's really nice. There we go, there we go. And I would also say that these veggies are looking really good. And I would say that they're softened enough that we're ready to add these and basically just assemble our sandwich at this point. Our sandwiches at this point. Okay, so I will turn that off. There we go. Just gonna move away this cutting board. So remember that I toasted these in advance so my pan is cool. You might have to handle it with oven mitts just to make sure. So let's start assembling our sandwiches, okay? So you start off with the strips of beef on the bottom, like so. Looks really good. So this baguette is a little bit thinner, so I feel like I can't put as much on these ones. You might get a thicker baguette. You might get a baguette that is made with white bread instead of whole wheat bread. So yours might look a little different than mine, But that's okay. That's what cooking is all about. Things don't always turn out exactly the same for each person, and that is okay. There we go. So just getting all of those done. Okay, and then what you can do is just you want to put the veggies on top. I'm gonna say this is a bit of a messy meal. I know that a lot of, if you've had a Philly cheesesteak before, you might already know that it is a bit of a messy meal. But as I'm putting on the veggies, I'm sure you can tell that it is not exactly the easiest thing to eat, but it's a really fun and delicious sandwich to eat. So some ways, like if you need to make it a little bit of a tidier meal, something that you can do is wrap it in parchment paper, some sort of wax paper, and that will just help you to sort of manage the situation so that everything doesn't fall out of the bottom of your sandwich, which can be really important. There we go. Okay. And another great thing that we have going on right now is that we are going to add shredded mozzarella cheese to the top. And that just adds to the gooiness factor of these delicious, beefy, nutritious sandwiches. There we go. And then you can see that we have all kinds of different food groups going on. So it does make a nice, beautiful, complete meal. Now I'm just gonna pop these in the oven quickly, and it kind of just melts the cheese. That's all we're going for, is we want a nice melty sandwich. So that's basically how you make a Philly cheesesteak. Super fun and delicious sandwich, super simple. Yeah, so that will be melting. It'll melt pretty quickly. And as you can see, we have veggies in this, lots of veggies in this. We have whole grains with the bread. We have beef, and we also have cheese for dairy. So you can see that we have a variety of different food groups, and it kind of makes a mixed plate that includes everything that you would need. Okay, so just keeping an eye on this. Okay, so the cheese is melting. I'm going to use my oven mitts to grab it out. Oh, actually, I'm going to get a plate first so that I can have a sandwich on my own. There we go. I'll just put that right there. Okay, and you can see that the cheese did melt pretty quickly. Show you guys what that looks like. Sliding a bit. There we go. Yummy. Looks so good. Now all you have to do is just find the right topper for it, and you have your little sandwiches going on. Just perfect. Nice, garlicky, cheesy, beefy. So delicious. There we go. Done. You have 4 different little sandwiches for people to enjoy. Here, I'll just grab this back one here. There we go. So thank you so much for being here with me. I hope you enjoy your Philly cheesesteak sandwich. It will be a little bit messy, but I hope you think it's really tasty. So good. Thank you so much for being here with me today. Bye.